Good. All right. Good morning, everyone. Shavua Tov. This is the week when Mashiach for sure is going to come. The end of this week is next Shabbat is Yutet Kislev. It's the really beginning of Hasidut called the Rosh Hashanah or Matan Torah of Hasidut, the day that the first Rebbe of Chabad got out of prison and really began spreading out the ideas of Hasidut in a big way. So this is really very practical regarding this week's Torah portion, which is Yakov meeting up with Esav. Yakov meeting up with Esav. All right. Vayishlach Yakov malachim lefanav el Esav achiv. That's the first sentence in this week's Torah reading. And just to fill in a little bit of the history, Yakov and Esav are brothers, twin brothers. Same mother, same father, same upbringing, same background, same environment, education, everything the same. And Esav, practically speaking, was a Jew. He was the grandson of Abraham, the son of Yitzchak, and he was the brother of Yakov. But it came out that he was exactly the opposite, seemingly, of Yakov. Yakov was devoted to God. He was devoted to the Creator, and Esav was devoted to himself. Esav was devoted to himself, to make himself big, to have a good time, to be powerful, and he succeeded. Esav succeeded very well, and Yaakov also succeeded, but you don't see exactly how he succeeded. Esav got results, and Yaakov didn't really get the results. I mean, God promised him that he was going to have the land of Israel, and he was going to, his children would be like the stars in the sky and spread out all over the world, and he didn't see any of it. Nevertheless, that's one of the big differences between holiness and how do you say unholiness? Unholiness, you get the reward almost immediately, and you get a big one. And inside of holiness, the results and the rewards are much more subtle, and they're much more concealed. That's the whole thing of Mashiach, is that they'll all be revealed, but until then they're not. So here we have Yaakov and Esav, the battle between two polar opposites and the brothers. And really, essentially, this is the battle of what is the identity of the Jewish people, because both Yaakov and Esav are they're twin brothers, right? So they're Jews. And what is the identity of the Jewish people? Is it going to be success, immediate, but on our own, we're totally on our own? Or is it going to be, of course, also success, but not immediately, and but on God's terms, not on our terms, and we'll do it on our own, but together with God. God is first, but of course, God wants us to do it on our own as well. So this is going to be this big meeting over here. Essentially, the meeting is really not between God and non-God. The meaning is what comes first. Is God the most important thing, and I am number two, I'm God's assistant? Or am I the most important thing, and God is my assistant? Because evil people, when they succeed, a lot of times they say that God is doing, he's helping me, right? The proof of my success is that God is, the proof of my, the proof of that I'm right is because I'm succeeding. And that's why God is joining me. That's basically what Islam is led. He fought these big battles and won, and that's the proof that he's won. That's the proof that God is with him, because he won. That's sort of like Esav. Sort of like Esav. In other words, the main thing is, how do you say, I want it all, and I want it now, and God will help me. And we see, unfortunately, that that's the way the world works. I mean, that the evil people, and they're the ones that succeed, at least in the beginning. And we're hoping Mashiach will come and change it. And that's what Yaakov is working for. Yaakov is working. That's why Yitzchak, by the way, wanted to bless his son Esav over Yaakov. Yitzchak thought he could bring out this good, which is concealed in Esav, that he could bring it out quickly. And that Esav would just change his paradigms. And he would realize, oh, I have to do things God's way and not want immediate results on my terms. Okay, so here we got Yakov and Esav, right? And the two brothers, and they have been estranged. They have been separated from one another for, what is it, 20 years, 20 years, more 20 years, 30 years. They've been separated from each other. And I guess 34 years, something, and even more. So 20 years he was in the house of Lavan, and then 14 years before that he was learning Torah. So they've been separated. So now they're going to come together. But the reason Yaakov had to run away in the first place, there was a positive and a negative reason. The positive reason was to stand with the Jewish people, to get married to Rachel and Leah, and to stand. But the negative reason was he had to run away from Esav because Esav wanted to kill him because he took the blessings. So Esav is still harboring this seething hatred in his heart for Yaakov because Yaakov tricked him out of the blessings. He wanted to get the blessings. Like I say, Esav believes in God, but he believes that God is going to help him to do his stuff. So he hates Yaakov. So now they're going to meet together, and Yaakov is very apprehensive. Now, of course, you might ask a question, and the Rebbe is hoping you ask a question. Why does Yaakov have to meet up with Esav at all? Just, ignore him, just avoid him at all. He wants to kill you. Avoid him. So the answer to that is basically going to be seen over here. Let's go. So it says that Yaakov sent malachim, angels. Lefanav, the word malachim also means messengers, but in this case it means angels. Lefanav el Esav achiv, to Esav, his brother. You do it is known. She Yaakov, the Yaakov, Shorsho, his source is from the name Ma. Yaakov is from a name of God. The name of Ma, we talked about this before, if you remember. Ma is 45, and it's one of the ways of spelling out God's name phonetically. Like, for instance, God's name is Yud, and then Hey, and then Vav, and then Hey. So let's say you take Yud, you can fill it out. Yud, Vav, Dalet is Yud. So Yud alone is 10, but when you fill it up with a Vav and Dalet, Vav is 6, and Dalet is 4, so that's another 10. So that makes 20. So there's 4 different ways, basic ways of filling out the name of God with that's called the milui, filling out the letters of the name of God. And one of them comes out to the numerical value of 45. And each one of these names of God is a different aspect of God that is also imbued in human beings. And one of them is Ma, that's the world of Tikun. And the source of Esav comes from the world of Tohu. And so Tikun is the world of order, and Tohu is the world of separation, individuality, if you want to call it. Separation, the opposite of harmony. So Tikun is the world of harmony, where everything in the world works harmoniously with everything else in the world. That's the way God wants it. That's a healthy person. And Tohu is the world of confusion, which doesn't last that long because there's no harmony. But on the other hand, it's very, very powerful. Everything there is very, very powerful. And basically, that's like the difference in general between human beings and animals. It's supposed to be. Human beings can get along with each other. They can get, even if there's opposites, right? They can get along. They can figure out how to, make an orchestra, make a group, make a unification. That was ideally what was supposed to, United Nations was supposed to be. All these different nations and races and ideas, but they all come together in harmony. That's a human being. And Tohu is like an animal. Animals, you can't get animals to be together unless that's their nature, unless that's just simply their nature. Like dogs, and they go in packs, and the horses go in packs because they want to follow a leader. That's how those animals can be trained. Okay, so generally speaking, that's Tohu. But on the other hand, animals are much more powerful than humans usually. Right? Your average dog is much more fierce than your average human being. And much of your average horse is much stronger than a person can be. Run faster and everything. So that's the world of Tohu. Tohu is one thing. And there's a lot of one things. It makes Tohu, it makes confusion. Tohu is like war. Tohu is war. You get everybody together to destroy. That's power. And Tikun is harmony, peace, usually. The Oros, the Tohu, the lights of Tohu, the power which is in Tohu. That, and now Esav is this world of Tohu. And Yakov is Tikun. Why do you have to have Tohu at all? Just make Tikun, make a nice world. It says because the Oros of Tohu, the lights, excuse me, the light force which is in Tohu is very great. And it can't be in normal vessels. Excuse me. It says that the lights of Tohu, they left the vessels of Tohu. The aim bechinas makifim, and these lights become what's called surrounding levels. I'll try to explain this in 1 minute. Just let's read it. The kalim and the vessels, nishbru, they broke. V'naflu, and they fell lamata below. And therefore, hoya Esav shalamata. Therefore, Esav was a rasha, was a bad person. Okay, so what is this? Sometimes you see there's these. I don't know if it still is, but there used to be movies. They take a person, they want a person to be like the ideal soldier, even generally a soldier. Take up an example of a soldier. You have a soldier. What do they do to the soldier? You have to go to basic training, and they train you not to be like a human being. Your thing, now you are a soldier. Your thing is to protect your country and to kill the enemy. That's what the soldier is supposed to be. A normal person hears gunfire, he runs away. A soldier runs into the. A normal person is afraid of the enemy. He's not afraid. He's going to go and kill the enemy. Normal person doesn't kill anybody. And soldiers are treated so soldiers, that's like being a soldier, that's like Tohu. Your whole concentration of life is just limited to one thing. Just one thing. That's like what Tohu is. But in order to do that, you have to sort of break the person. You have to break the person in order to make him sort of like not a person anymore. And that's something like the breaking of the vessels. Something like, I'm giving it breaking of the vessels. This is how I understand it. This is a system that God made. God wanted there to be a world, and he wanted there to be bad in the world. He wanted there to be the separation in the world, confusion in the world. He wanted it to be that way so that we would fix it up. That's the job of Yakov. There's to fix this confused world up. How did God make the world confused? So one of the stages in creation was that there were what's called 10 aspects of God, called 10 sefirot. And God purposely made these 10 sefirot in a way that the lights were tremendously powerful inside of the vessels, the life force inside, and the vessels, the body of these vessels, this is all spiritual, was very thin. And because of that, the light went away. It says it's like dying. It went away. It's like taking a person and taking his personality away. And the vessels fell down. And the vessels had a little bit of this light hanging to them. And that's how there's evil in the world. There was one stage, very, very high godliness, but it was so pure, powerful godliness. And the vessels that contained it were so delicate that the vessels, so to speak, broke. And without the light inside of them, they tumbled down. That's like dying. And that's how we got all the bad in the world. And that was Esav. Esav, he personified this level of Tohu. All of the bad individual egotism, selfishness that is in the world is him. And so it says, they broke down. Therefore, Lamata below, Esav was really very bad. Esav was an evil person. But in his source, Shorsho, in the source of the source, the Makifim, in this surrounding level of Tohu, we said that the lights were tremendously powerful. Bahari Oros, the Tohu, the lights of Tohu, are above the lights of Tikun. So the power of Tohu is above the power of Tikun. Just in general, right? Somebody who starts a war, all of a sudden Genghis Khan says, let's make a war. Let's say for our purposes, and all the people in Europe and everything, they're all peaceful and they're getting along and everything like that. And all of a sudden comes these hordes people to fight against them. They can't fight against them because the Hamas, they're concentrated. They're concentrated to go and to kill. They have one goal: to kill and to destroy, right? And the Jews that were there, they also have the ability to do that, but they wanted to have a good time, and they wanted to have fun, and they wanted to make peace, and they wanted to have brotherhood, and there was all these other the how do you say, motivations going on inside of them for peace and for order and harmony and love and this and fighting was just one of them. So Tohu was always stronger than Tikun. Tohu is always stronger and more powerful than Tikun is. And Tohu says, therefore, the lights of Tohu are above the lights of Tikun. The power to destroy is much greater than the power of good. It used to be, I remember when I was a kid, they had the Lone Ranger, and what is it? What was also the Lone Ranger, Hopalong Cassidy, these people, Superman. Oh, there's the example, right? Everybody else is just trying to get along. And then there's one evil guy that comes and he gets a whole group of other evil people, and they just take over everybody because no one's expecting, they weren't thinking they had to protect themselves. The world was peaceful. All of a sudden, one bad guy comes, he's more powerful than everybody. And they know how to fight, and they know how to steal, and they know how to do all these things that the simple people don't know. There has to stand up one guy, right? Superman or the Lone Ranger or something like that. And he has to stand out. He has both qualities. He also wants peace, and he's also strong. Oh, this is unusual. This is unusual. That the bad guys are strong. It's an obvious thing. That's why they're bad guys, because they're beating everybody up. But the good guys are not strong. They're weak. So it says, that's what it says. The lights of Tohu are above, and there's the power of egotism and selfishness is above the lights of Tohu. They're above the lights of Tikun, of fixing up and being orderly. Kamoshi is like we comment, like we'll see later on, according to B'yikach min abba b'yado min chalashem. Commotion is prayer, like we said before, also in Toldos, and Parshas Toldos. Okay. We said over there in both of these places, if we remember, we learned it in class, that Tohu was higher than Tikun. Bad is higher in its source than good, in its source. Yakov thought that Esav already fixed himself up. Yakov and Esav were brothers. And both, because of that, they both came from Yitzchak. And Yitzchak's whole thing was to change the world for better. Yitzchak's thing that says he dug wells. He dug wells. So Yitzchak's thing was to take a barren place and to fix it up, to reveal what was concealed, the good that's concealed inside, right? The desert, the water that's concealed inside of the desert. And Yaakov thought that they'd been separated for so long that Esav, for sure, he caught himself, he realized what was going on, and he fixed himself up. And that Esav went back to his source, which that's this level of makifim, these surrounding lights, these tremendously powerful lights of Tohu, which are before Tikun, that he could harness this amazing power to fix up the world, because that's what the Jews are here for. The Jews are here to fix up and to harness and to harmonize all of the power and confusion which is in the world. But that power and confusion is, in its source, is very good. You just have to have somebody to arrange it. That's what it says. Vayikov. I have to move this a little bit. That's why it says Vayishlach Yakov Malachim. That's why it says that Yakov sent these angels. And that's why it says that Yakov sent these angels before him. What does it mean, before him? Higher than him. Yakov sent angels, these angels, messengers. He sent them higher than him. A level which is higher than Yakov himself, to Esav Achiv. Seira, Shehu Bechinas Malachim. This is what's called the primordial kings of Tohu. Bechinas Makifim. These are these surrounding levels that we talked about. Today, in order to draw down these surrounding levels of Tohu to him. Now, surrounding levels just basically means life in its source. Everybody's alive. Nobody knows what it means. The source of life is even more incomprehensible. Esav misused this, but in its source, it's life, it's health, it's power, and that power can be used for good. To draw that down below in Tikun, Shehu Bechinas or Panimi, and Tikun is what's called an internal light. The Yora Makif Panimi, then the surrounding light will shine in an inside way, the Yachdu Yachtov, and they will be united together. So maybe you can do it in another simple way. And there's the religions of the world, basically they all say that a person is bad. Especially those ones that try to replace Judaism, that man is bad. And that you got to sort of wipe out man. You have to, just cling to your religion and you'll go to heaven. Now that's very powerful because that's why these other religions are very powerful, to say that this world is no good and you just have to wipe out your personality. Just believe in this person or believe in this thing or whatever, and then and conquer the world. We can take over the world, and that's what's called or makif. The religion doesn't come into God is not really part of your day-to-day life. If you don't believe in the religion, then you're out. Your day-to-day life is not important in these other religions. The main thing is you have to believe. But you have to believe. You believe in this, that's okay. That's where all the Crusades came from, where the Inquisition and all these things. The main thing you have to believe. It doesn't make any difference. You can be cruel. You can be this. We just saw it now with this thing in Israel. The Arabs, the religion of peace, they came and they raped and they murdered and they did the terrible things. But it was okay. That's okay because it's makifim. You just have to believe in it. Judaism is not that way. Judaism says that godliness, good, has to be incorporated in every aspect of your life because everything is being created by God. And the main thing is this physical world. But that makes you sort of weak. In other words, you have to internalize everything and say, how does this relate to me? How can I? Says you're supposed to love God and you're supposed to have awe of God. You're supposed to, your emotions are supposed to realize how good God is and how awesome God is and how wonderful God is and how it's worthwhile that your whole body, all your being and your intellect and your speech and your thoughts and your day-to-day mundane things, your family and your wife and your children and your people you meet, everything has to be imbued with godliness. That's called panemius. That's called internal. So Tohu basically wants to wipe out the world. And Tikun wants to fix up the world. But wiping out the world is much more powerful. Right? If you have an orchestra that's playing, and it's playing, right, there's a 100-piece orchestra, and it's playing some, beautiful piece, and one guy stands up in the crowd, and he starts with a foghorn, he starts making noise, so he wrecks the whole thing up. One person can wreck up all the beauty. That's because it's more powerful. That's why Tikun is weaker than Tohu. But on the other hand, if you can incorporate this energy from bad into good, that would be a wonderful thing. And that's the job of the Jews. The job of the Jews is supposed to be to take all of this power, which was misdirected in the world to these weird, destructive, basically religions that stress going to heaven and not stressing this world, to take that and put it into the world that the whole mankind says all mankind will serve God in one group. A shechem echad, that's really wonderful. That's basically the thing between Yakov and Esav. The word Esav, by the way, means to be finished. Asui. It's already made. It was born hairy, it says. We learned last week. He was born finished. Esav said, the world the way it is, that's it. That's it. You just have to squeeze pleasure out of it. You have to squeeze a little bit something selfish. But the world doesn't have to be fixed up. That's Tohu. Tohu. No, just destroy the world. Just get whatever you can out of the world. Just squeeze it out, right? And that's Tohu. And Tikun is peace, growth, life. Okay, Yakov and Esav represent these two, and Yakov wants to fix up Esav, and Esav knows he has to be fixed up. He's the son of Yitzchak, that was Yitzchak's whole thing. But meanwhile, he's enjoying not being fixed up. That's Tohu. Lamata betikun, shehu b'chinas or panimi, that this is an internal, personal feeling of God. You're a makif that if you can get this powerful lights of confusion and destruction, if you can get them organized, then it's a wonderful thing. Then they can work together. Therefore, Yaakov commanded these angels, this is what you should say to Esav. Right? He knows that Esav is coming. He's got 400 men with him. He's going to kill Yakov. Yaakov sends these angels, and he says to them, this is what you should say to Esav. Im Lavan Garti, that you should know I dwell with Lavan. Now, Yaakov does not know yet what exactly Esav, his intentions are.
Yes.
Esav's intentions are bad, but Yaakov doesn't know what those intentions are. Yaakov thinks that Esav is going to fix him up. Esav has fixed himself up. So therefore, he sends a message to Esav and says, Im Lavan Garti, tell Esav that Yaakov, I lived with Esav. Somebody has their microphone on. If you could turn it off, I'd appreciate it. Thank you. And after the class, you can ask questions. Yeshur v'chamor, and I have oxes and donkeys. And what's he telling Esav he's got oxes and donkeys for? And that he lived with Lavan. What does Esav care about that? It says Esav was a very spiritual person. Esav knew what was going on in the upper worlds. He knew what was happening, and he knew that he had he's got Yaakov outnumbered and overpowered and everything. Yaakov comes and tells him, listen, your attention is in the wrong place. Maybe you're more powerful than me in this world, but you're not doing your right job. You should know. Kavar nigmar v'nishalim kol seder tikun. You should know, Yaakov said, I have already finished all of my service. I fixed up all of the different spiritual aspects of Atzilut. I've done everything. I've finished all the tests. I was with Lavan 20 years. I went over, he tried to trick me. His power was a very spiritual power. I fixed the whole thing up. Everything that's good in Lavan, I took out. I took out of all the good, and Lavan realized it. Lavan went back to his source. Now I have all the power, Kikal, Bechinas, all these levels in the world of Atzilus, and they're corresponding. He doesn't explain what it is. Shor, ox, chamor, donkey, tzon, sheep, eved, shivcha. These are different levels of a shore. Is usually the aspect of it says that the shore is on the right side and the left side. In any case, there's aspects of godliness that have to be fixed up. I fixed the whole thing up. You have to remember, everything in this world, it corresponds to something spiritual. And when you get the whole thing in line, then there's beautiful harmony in the world and blessing. That's what blessing is. When things are just in line. Health, it's called health. Right? When a person's heart and his lungs and his stomach and his liver and everything, they work properly. So that's called healthy. And that's what Yaakov did. All these different aspects of life, of Atzilut, and that they are represented by these things that Yaakov had. The ox and donkey and servants, maidservants, men servants. And Yaakov said, I did everything I have. I had to do. He called the Bechinas and Madrigash, but all Matzilus and Bechinas Shur, Chamor, he fixed the whole thing up. Kulam Nisbaru, I fixed it all up. The Netaknu Ali they Shem Ma, by means of this name of Ma that I had, which Ma is Chachma. It says in the second chapter of the Tanya, Chachma, the power of Ma, the power to fix everything up. Chachma basically is translated as wisdom, but basically in human personality, it means faith. It means faith. Above understanding, I have faith that God exists. Right? That's what Judaism is based on, faith. Faith that God exists, faith that God creates the world, faith that he put us in the world to be his partners and fix up the world. That's this aspect of Ma, surrender to God. No matter what happened, he had surrendered to God. We can use that in our day-to-day life, right? Something happens that makes you mad, you think, one second, what does God want me to do here? God arranged this whole thing, that this person would step on my toe and he would call my mother a name or whatever it is, right? Now what am I supposed to do? What does God want me to do? I don't know. Maybe so learn the Shulchan Aruch, go and ask a rabbi, figure out what it is. That Shema, you're always believing that God exists, God has a plan. I want to be part of the plan. That's Ma. So Yaakov, everything that he went through, as everything that happened in this world, it was just like the tip of the iceberg, an inverted iceberg of the to open up doors for the upper worlds to come blessings in the world. Yaakov said, I fixed the whole thing up. That's what it means. I had the ox and the donkey. All this came because in Lavan Karti, because I lived with Lavan. Who is Lavan? Lavan is the spiritual level of Lovan Elyon, the upper whiteness. We talked about this last week. A tremendously high level that from there is the ikr, the main power of Yakov, Baal Olam Atzilut, of the world of Atzilut. That the power to fix everything up, this comes from this upper whiteness that comes in the world Lavan, just like Esav in the world is something bad, but his source is something very good. Same thing with Lavan. The Varer or the Taken Akal. Now, all these people, just in general, I mean, just they all came, they're all one big family, right? Lavan is the brother of Rivka. He's the brother of Rivka, so it's all one family. Akal, the cave and sin, Shekain, since it's so, Shenigmar of Nishlam Malachas Atikun, since it's already, so Yaakov married his cousins, his cousins, his nieces, what is it? Anyway, he married his uncle's daughters. Nigmar of Nishlam Malacha Tikun Beshlemos. So now all these things have good potential, and Yaakov said, I spent 20 years by Lavan, I purified it, I refined it. So now, Roy v'yochol, I am able that I can draw down these surrounding levels of Tohu. Now I can remember that there can be draw down into me these levels of Tohu. Because if Yaakov did not finish his work completely, he would not have been able to draw down and to receive these upper levels, which are represented by Esav. Like it says in the Zohar, the laced brachas that a blessing does not rest, sharia rest, but utter rekanis. I'm sorry, the laced brachas sharis, the asa rekanis, that a blessing cannot rest in a place that's empty. It had to be holy. It had to be like a pocket with no holes in it. Ella ba'atar shalim, but a blessing can only be in a place that's complete. So Yaakov said, okay, I finished the vessel. I fixed up everything I can in this world. I'm ready for your blessings, Esav. Now that I finished the level of Tikun, now it's complete. Now I can draw down the upper levels. Therefore, to find grace in your eyes. And that's why one of the things the Mashiach is going to do, by the way, is to return all the non-Jews to realize how much God loves them, that God is creating them, and they'll drop all the religions to fix up the non-Jews, because there's tremendous power in the world. But Yaakov fixed himself up. Now he's ready for Esav's blessing. Shetashpia, that Esav now can bring down and to shine this makif, the surrounding level of Esav to me in the world of Tikun. And that's what it means, Metzias Achen. Because I have shor v'chamor, said Yaakov, I finished up everything that I have to do. I've transformed everything in the world of Tikun. Now it's a complete place. If so, Roy Ani, now I am fit to find grace in your eyes. Shehu Ashur as a bracha. Now I can get from you, Esav, the blessing from your world of Makifin. It's very common nowadays, especially there's all these Chabad houses. I was in a lot of them in the East, in Thailand, especially in Nepal, and all these bizarre places. And the Israelis go there after they finish the army. A lot of them, they go there just to get away from Israel, get away from the tension, get away from the confusion. So they go to these places, and then they go to the Chabad house. They go to the Chabad house for Passover or something like that. And then they start to become religious. They say, well, God is good. It's good to be a Jew. I want to put on tefillin. It's happening now in the army a lot. In the army, it's happening a lot. These non-religious Israelis, they've been brought up on What do you want to? What do you want to? Atheism, atheism, whatever you want to call it. That you're God, you do it your way. And all of a sudden they're going in the army and they're meeting these nice, very practical people that are putting on tefillin every day, and they see that they're not, religious fanatics or something like that, and they're not talking about heaven and hell, and they also put on tefillin, so they become religious. Okay, but now, so that wakes up, so to speak, it gets together the lights of Tohu. Now they're not going to do bad things anymore. These people, they're not going to go and do bad things. They're not going to go against the Torah, but they don't know what to yes to. So you have to send them to yeshiva. They come to yeshiva, they start to learn. That's called putting the lights that they have into vessels. So Yakov said, I finished the vessels. I finished the vessels. I've fixed up the world in a way that it's for blessings. Esav. Yeshuva Malachim, and the angels came. Someone over here has this. I'm going to have to turn off. I'm turning somebody off over here. Nothing personal. Okay. Okay, so Yakov said, I'm finished. I've done the work. He sent messengers to Esav, and he said, okay, Esav, I'm sure you've been doing your work also, right? You've been far away. You've realized the truth. We're going to walk in the way of Yitzchak and Abraham. We realize there's a creator to the world. There's a plan to the world. The world is a good place. So, okay, I'm ready for you, Esav. Come, let us meet. The Yeshuva Malachim, the angels came back. That's the message that he sent to Esav. And the angels came back to Yaakov and said, Bano Elachicha Esav, we come to your brother Esav, and he's also coming to meet you. He has 400 men with him, and he's coming to destroy you. Perish Shuvas Malachim, the reply of the angels, of the messengers that Yaakov sent, who kach is like this, even though that from your side, it is fitting and proper, very much. You're ready for the big blessings from from Esav of Tohu, because Shenimsa is found in you, the completion of Tikun. You finished everything up. You finished all of your work, right? Let's take an example. Yakov, you've established the yeshiva, and you know the Torah, and you have people that are willing to teach the Torah, but there's no pupils. The pupil that you thought was going to come, which was Esav, Malaso, what can we do? The prevention over here, the obstacle is Esav, his brother. Shuadayan Lamata, he's still below. He's in the breaking of the vessels. He's still broken. He's still running after the world. Voloni Baradai, he has not been refined yet. He can't give you anything from his source. Right? The angels are saying to Yaakov, Esav is not ready to give you anything. He wants the whole thing for himself. He's not going to give anything from his source. Amakiv the Tohu now, he's still below. Haraya, what's the proof? How do you know that he's still in the world of breaking, that he's still all broken? He's not prepared at all for any sort of peace. Because he's coming to meet you with 400 people. What's these 400 people? What does that symbolize? What's it a sign? Adalad me'osis, these 400 people, they are the dinim kashim. This is what's called severe severe powers of destruction of the chitzonium, of the external forces, anim shachim, which come from 400 tough 400, what's called 400 courts of justice, judgment, kashim, severe courts of justice, which exist, which are found. Like it's found in Idra Rabbah. Idra Rabbah is one of the Kabbalistic parts of the Zohar. So he heard this number 400 and he knew what was going on. How does it work in the world? There is in the world a very big power in the world, a psychological power. And that's called guilt. Guilt. What is guilt? The reason that people are created, human beings are created, is responsibility. God creates people because he wants them to have responsibility. Angels don't have responsibility. Animals don't have responsibility. right? God created a new thing in the world. When he created man, responsibility. The spherot, the upper spherot in the world, they don't have it. The planets don't have it. All the upper worlds don't have it. Atzilut, Bria, there's no responsibility up there. No one's responsible. None of them are responsible. Man is responsible. Man is created. Every single human being in the world feels somewhere down in the essence of his soul that he's responsible for something, to do something. But there's some sort of a thing he has to do, say, think, whatever. He's here for a purpose. Every human being in the world. That's at the essence of our souls. There's other things also at the essence of the human soul, but that's one of the things at the essence of the human soul is. And when a person feels that maybe he has shirked his responsibility, that he hasn't done what he's supposed to do, so he feels guilt. That's what a lot of these religions are based on, very strongly, right? You're going to burn in hell. You're an evil person. You're bad. You're bad. You're evil, and your essence, you're no good. Therefore, you got to be saved. You got to be helped. Anybody who doesn't believe like us is that he's going to remain in evil and everything like that. Judaism says, no, that's not the way it works. Everybody in their essence is good. Everybody has responsibility. That's the essence. You didn't do what you were supposed to do. You didn't do what you were supposed to do. Okay, you should feel guilty and you should fix it up. You should feel guilty and fix it up. So it says this feeling of feeling guilty can also be misused. It can also be misused. Here you see all these big religions. They misuse it terribly, right? And also you can misuse it the other way. If, like these guys from the Hamas that just came in, if you kill people and cut off babies' head, you shouldn't feel guilty. Don't feel guilty. You're doing a good thing, right? That you did a big mitzvah. Did a wonderful thing. So guilt can be twisted around, right? Exactly the opposite, right? Like the Nazis. If you didn't go and kill people, that you should feel bad, right? If you saved the Jew, then that's a big, big sin. Had mercy on a baby. Oh, that's the worst. You have to. So guilt can be twisted around also. But the fact is, there is guilt. That's what's called. There's the 400 courts of severity in the upper worlds that give this a severe judgment, improper judgment. That it's known that the source of these 400 people, this comes from for these 400 courts of justice, this comes from another 400 coins of silver that Abraham gave to Ephron. That these 400 coins of silver that Abraham gave to Ephron, they come from the 400 worlds of Kisufim, 400 worlds of desire, of pleasure, the yarti that inherit the tzaddikim in the world to come. These are tremendously high lights of pleasure, Elyon, which come down and mibechinas atika kadisha. It's called the upper inner crown of God. Bechinas mamutza, that this is the crown of God, this level of keter, atika kadisha it's called. This is a connecting between the essence of God and the world of Atzilut, like it's known. The keter is a connection between the matzil, between the emanator, God, and the ne'etzelim, and all the worlds that come from it. And from this comes all this pleasure, this upper pleasure of the tzaddikim. So it comes out, it's a very good thing. Is it a good thing or is it a bad thing? Well, it depends. It can be used like Esav used it for bad, or it can be used for something good. That's what Yakov wanted to do. That's the 400. When he saw he was coming with 400 men, he knew that they meant no good. These were the 400 powers of guilt, of judgment that are in the world. Esav is coming with them in order to destroy. He wants to destroy the whole world. The whole world is not good. He's going to destroy the world. And Yaakov, his thing was the 400 worlds of Kisuvim. The world is, yes, good. The world is wonderful. But we have to unify. If we can just unify all the power from the bad and the good, that'll be a wonderful thing. That's what Yaakov thought he was doing. That's this whole story that we're reading about. Okay, this comes, Yaakov's source is what's called the 400 coins of silver that Abraham gave to Ephron HaChittite to buy Marat HaMachpelah. That's the place where Abraham, Isaac, Jacob, and also Adam are buried with their wives. That's a source of all good in the world. The source of all good in the world. And but then there's world. Hebron is just a very small place. The world is a very big place, and the world is ruled basically by these 400 men that Esav brought along with him. Yakov thought that he could harness this power of Esav, and we're going to see that he is going to do it. But that's the idea of Mashiach. It's going to. We see that it waited about 4,000 years, but here we are. We're in the generation that's doing it now. As we'll learn about more, God willing, tomorrow. And now, one second.